Can you give an overview of the facts and statistics, or even a story that you think represents how dangerous the situation of eating disorders are in Pakistan?
So I'm Dr. Medeeha Malik, and I'm from Pakistan, and I'm also the president of Eating Disorder Association for Pakistan. And it is basically the first eating disorder association which has been registered in whole Southeast Asian region and which is working actually in eating disorder. According to WHO, 23% of the entire population of Pakistan is clinically obese. And there are 16% of the children in this age range are now that equals to 10 million of the children in Pakistan are obese. And 1 in 4 adults are considered as obese in Pakistan. And Pakistan ranks about at like ninth position out of 188 countries in obesity. So, that is something which was very alarming. And we were like, what's happening? And then at that point in time, we started working on this. And when we looked at you see, a national obesity ranking for the scenario for Pakistan, it's like 6.5 out of 10. So we were looking at this, and over the last decade, obesity is something which has become so challenging to deal with in Pakistan, and definitely beside this, depression as well. And first of all, one of our project was we were working on on depression. And when we started working on depression, and we were seeing so much higher tendency of depression, and especially suicidal rate in Pakistan, and so much especially in the youth, that was the triggering point which actually we started looking into this, that what is the reason behind it. And then a few of the reasons which we identified through one of our research paper was, the body shaming concept is very common, just like, all the other Asian countries in the world. And then, the pressure of looking beautiful, the pressure of looking slim, and then the influence of the media industry and those, smart idols everywhere. So that was something which actually, when we did a survey and we started, finding out that it was so common. Like, we got that like 72% of the population was actually, reporting this, that at once in their life they had been body shamed, and they were so much conscious, and then they were using so many laxatives, to just lose weight, or they were adapting so much of the uh, medicines like anti-obese drugs, or taking especially glucophage, one of the very common drug which was very common in Pakistan, the use of that. And then there were so many young girls who were complaining of polycystic ovarian syndrome and all that. So when we, for one in our first research, we started that on obesity. And when we started working on that, and we identified that there were so many people who were obese, and who were actually into so many different practices, malpractices for just losing weight. And even they were they were not health conscious, they were like more of to just get just fit into that societal idol which has been created in Pakistan. And because of those reasons, then we did our first seminar. I remember that was one of the awareness campaign. And when we went and we started talking to people about that, have you heard of eating disorder, or the word about this? And people were like, "What's that? We don't know it." And to our surprise, only 2% of our sample, which we actually did, only knew about eating disorder, and that was something very disappointing for us. And then that was the actually the kicking point where we actually started working on this eating disorder thing. And then we went to school, we visited few schools, and when we looked at the modules of the curriculum and all those things, there were nothing like eating disorder in the schools or at university level. Even we went to our medical colleges and we looked at the curriculum of our medical college universities, and they were just being taught like eating disorder as just a partial subject and just a few topics of that. So they were just knowing about the DSM-5 criteria, or things like that, and they were not actually working, or they were not diagnosing or screening people. So then at policy level, we also started looking that is there any database which is available for eating disorder, or national statistics which are available for eating disorder in Pakistan. And to our surprise, till this date, we do not have any national database or statistics for eating disorder in Pakistan. So there is roughly an estimate that more than 5 million people who might be suffering from one or another eating disorder in Pakistan, but they are not clinically diagnosed. And that's how this journey started. And we actually started doing different researches, and we started gathering evidence-based data. Then we looked at that how many clinical trials have been conducted on eating disorders in whole Southeast Asian region. And to our surprise, in whole Southeast Asian region, we only found 8 clinical trials. You see, and none of them was actually being done or conducted in this. Like we had a data of 13 clinical trials in America, 14 clinical trials in Europe, 7 in Western Pacific, and none of them in Africa and EMR regions. So, that was one of the things which we really would like to do in future. So I actually identified that in Pakistan, not easy to go and talk in such a culture and tell people that you are suffering from a mental disorder, right? Because you then the problem with most of the Southeast Asian region is that people get labeled and they're scared of getting labeled. So then we thought of a thing like how we can actually start talking, or how we can convince them to get screened, or get their children screened. So that was the time when I realized that we do not have prep for like very big sizes people in Pakistan, or very small sizes people in Pakistan. So I actually introduced a clothing brand with the name Dhaga for promoting body positivity, and we actually give a whole range of sizes for everyone. And then I got funding, like I won a grant. There was a competition, a Pishma idea, and that I won a grant from US Embassy. And then what happened that actually we launched an eating disorder app, awareness app with the name of I Matter. So we had like, the whole advocacy component in the app, and then we have all the screening tools embedded in that. And then, we actually took all the resources from Beat, which is like, doing a very great job, and we translated them into our local context. And then we embedded all of those activities in our app, and then we started, gathering data. So there were a lot of people who were, downloading the app, and there were so many people who were placing orders for our clothes, and then and now we used to, screen them. And then we decided to go, one step ahead, and we organized a eating disorder fashion show for the first time in 2021 in Pakistan. And to our surprise, we got a very huge response, and we were like, okay, now this is the area where we can focus, and that is something we started building from there. Awareness about binge eating disorder. So, and we said that we do not want the actual models to do the modeling for the clothing brand. We took the real people who were suffering with any one of the eating disorder, and they, came on the ramp, and they walked there feeling so confident. And then we actually, made so many documentaries and eating disorder awareness videos. And whenever any model was walking, the real men and women and the kids were walking on the ramps, we were actually presenting different presentation with awareness for the audience, that what this is about, what are the symptoms, how you can get the treatment and all that. And then we got an MOU with different schools, and we decided to work on the modules. And we said that these need to be embedded into the at the primary level, from where the children can be more aware about the eating disorders. And that's how actually this journey started, and now we are still on the go.
I'm hearing your entire story, and I think you are literally so inspiring, because I definitely know that I've heard from so many people that say that Asia, especially South Asia, Southeast Asia, there's no resources for research, and there's barely any for both clinics and advocacy. So I think what you're doing is amazing. So I'm going to move on to a question that kind of ties into it. You had a really like creative way of advocacy, like you made a clothing brand. So I was wondering, looking beyond Pakistan, do you think that what are some good practices or approach to eating disorder prevention, treatment, or advocacy that you have done that perhaps the rest of the world can adopt?
Actually, when I was, working on this project, so this is something which is very close to my heart. And, when I started working on this, so I looked at so many practices which are being conducted in so many different countries, but I wanted to make it different, because I knew that the culture, restrictions, and labeling, all those things, that might not be working in Pakistan for us. So I think that one of the thing in which we can break that taboo, especially the other Southeast Asian countries, or especially the Asian countries, telling making people talk and making people more aware is in the form of fashion show, because that was something very extraordinary when the people who were suffering from eating disorders, and they were real men, women, and kids who walked on the ramp, and that was I could not explain the happiness and the confidence with which they were wearing those clothes, and they were thinking about themselves, that they can come forward and they can face the world. And so this was something, and now we are also planning to hold a conference in February. That would be, I think, the first conference on eating disorder in the whole Southeast Asia region. And we are planning to invite all the other, scientists and researchers all across the world to come and present their findings. And you probably would be very much interested that the second day of the conference will be ending with the fashion show. And probably we are this time we are planning that maybe if we get one or two designers from other countries who can also come and promote awareness about eating disorders. Like they can bring their real men or women, or even they can bring their culture, and we can promote them. Our people can promote that. So that is one of the very, I think, was a good way of doing that. And then another research which actually we did an interventional study on a school sample, and we got a very extraordinary result where we trained the teachers, the faculty, and we actually screened the people, screened all the children, and then we picked up the eating disorder ones, and then we split them into two groups: the one which were getting the CBT and all the awareness about treatment, prevention, and everything, and the other one which were not. And after that, when we tested the model, we were really happy to see that there was a significant success rate in the students were more aware about them. Their attitude totally changed, and they were more positive, and they were more resilient. We found them more resilient to adapt different practices. And then that one of we are also publishing that paper. It will be online in 2 to 3 months. So that would be a very good start for other Asian countries to actually adapt. Pakistan is the fifth largest populous country in the world, and we only have 3,000 psychiatrist and psychologist in Pakistan. You see, so this is so alarming. So we really need such kind of helplines and advocacy programs. But one of the challenge which we think we face, or many other Asian countries or maybe developing countries are facing, is basically the lack of resources for research. I really wanted to conduct a national survey for eating disorder, producing eating disorder statistics, but it cost us a lot. So I think one of the way in which most of the developed countries could help us is, by giving us the opportunity to research fundings where we can conduct different clinical trials. But we share very common population segmentation and statistics, and the variations with India, Bangladesh, Iran, Afghanistan, and all. So if one clinical trial is being conducted in Pakistan, the result could be replicated in all the others, because we share the common grounds there. So you see, this is one of the challenge which we are facing in Pakistan. And if we really get the funding, we really have, those research organizations to come and support us, we can also produce good evidence-based data from Southeast Asian region.
Definitely. On that topic, though, how do you think that people inside Pakistan as well as outside in the international community can help you either to like receive funding or just help you spread the message of eating disorders?
I think, Megan, both will work. Us, both will work for us, because we also need strong campaigns at international level. Because when I remember when I launched this Eating Disorder Association of Pakistan, and the Habit Strategic organization congratulated us on Twitter, and it was a trend over there. So it was something very uh, appreciative for us, and something very encouraging, and it gives us so much motivation to work more, to do more with even so much limited resources. So I think that the say highlighting, connected with different international organizations and spreading the word, definitely it would help us. And then exchanging different resources which are already validated in different developed countries, and which we can replicate in our country, with a bit of translation and a little bit modification according to the cultural context, would really help us to move forward very quickly. And that would be a great step for producing that evidence-based data for eating disorder. And we could also develop so many best to fit models for other Asian countries.
This is something I've heard from so many people I've interviewed. They're like, the government doesn't help us. And it's really sad sometimes to hear.
Megan, the problem is this, that it is not the priority of the government because they have so many other things to deal with, especially, the pandemic, and we have so many floods and so many other issues, and then political instability in our countries and economic situations, the inflation and so many. So that might not be the priority. And then what you can expect, like, I would just like to quote a figure that less than 1% of the total GDP is being allocated to our health budget. So what do you expect from the government, that how they would be, prioritizing something important as mental health? And then the other problem is this, that our mental health policy was last formulated and developed in 2005, and still we have not revised it. It is not the part of our health policy, you see. So mental health is not something which is being given importance or is a priority of the government or even the people in so many in so many Asian countries. So we are recently developing health value dashboards for the adult population of Pakistan as well as for the youth of Pakistan. And to my surprise, when we rate it in terms of quality of life, mobility and daily activity is the two more important health dimensions which has been rated highest by the population in Pakistan or so many other Asian countries, because they believe that we when we will be mobile and we will be working, then that's the only way we can earn. And whenever we were asking them about their mental health and all this, so they were okay with that. So it's fine, we are living with it. So it doesn't matter. So you see, this thing is not important for them, even for the population, because they're so used to living with this, and they have so many other battles to fight with. So they totally forget that mental health is also the main important thing, which will actually also affect the quality of life and other dimensions of it.
Yeah, I think that's with so many countries, there's just too much to prioritize, and eating disorders, even though, yes, they're super important, honestly, sometimes they can't really tackle it. I just wanted to ask, you've already mentioned a little bit of it earlier with, Asian countries, and there's a lot of like striving to be thin, but do you think there are very different, if there are cultural differences with eating disorders in Pakistan? And is there anything different that you think advocacy is in Pakistan versus, for example, in the United States? Maybe like it's harder to get funding, obviously, as you said, but are there other differences, like cultural ones especially?
I can see that there might be some cultural differences as well as there might be some religious differences also, because religion is also one of the things which impact quality of life in so many things in Pakistan. And then what I think is, like, the influence of media and the cosmetic industry. Like, in Pakistan, because like in Pakistan, whenever you will switch on the TV or the media, everyone would be talking about beauty. Everyone would be talking about the shape. Everybody would be talking about fitness, about your skin, or about your complexion, or about how thin I look, how fat I look. African diet is so much popular in Pakistan, besides so many, adverse effects which have been reported about it. Now the concept of liposuction, bariatric surgeries, and all those kinds of stuff, it's so common in Pakistan. And then people can go to any extent to get their results, and they would be taking all sort of laxatives. They would be using every kind of treatment, surgeries, and everything. The success rate is not so much high in Pakistan, and many people die because of those surgeries. But still, this is an issue in Pakistan, that people are still not health conscious. They are more of appearance or look conscious. So
Mm.
I think that's a huge market for we have our pharmaceutical industry of 3.2 billion US dollars. And there are like more than 700 local pharmaceutical companies in Pakistan. And one of the top 10 drugs, which is the most highest rated in terms of sale, are the anti-obesity drugs. And Ozempic, like it's like, going in black. People are just buying it, purchasing it at any cost, just like crazy. People are just driven by, they want to be, something ideal, perfectly fit for the society. So that I think that this would be interesting to see the differences of all these kinds of practices in Pakistan and in other countries like the Western countries, or for that.
Something that you've said today twice now is that you use a lot of laxatives and I guess pharmaceutical stuff, and that's something I haven't really heard from other countries, and I find that really interesting. Like in strike, we're actually trying to get bills passed around the world to ban selling diet pills to minors because obviously they're really, really bad for your health and, developing eating disorders. So it's really nice that you're kind of saying that, laxatives and diet pills are truly an issue that needs to be solved. And as you said, the industry is predatory.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there are all kinds of dieting which has been going like crazy in Pakistan, and I really don't know. There are so many, dietitians at the clinics who are offering supplements. I don't know what they have in it for, weight loss, and they are not being regulated or monitored in Pakistan. So there are so many herbal products like for the weight loss. There are so many other supplements and all this, even the pills. So it's like a crazy market. You see, everybody is buying anything which would help them to lose weight.
Hmm.
So, and on the same side, it's not just losing weight, it's also gaining weight. People are using steroids like hell
Hmm.
for gaining weight. And then, in our gyms and fitness centers, all those kinds of diets and all those, formulas which we give them for the muscles development and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. There are so many factors which are
Hmm.
going here, which could be studied and which could be compared with other countries and as well as with Western countries. First of all, I would just like to say that anyone which is listening our conversation, thank you for listening to us. And I would just like to say that please support us in a cause. Like being from developing countries is really very hard to break all the taboos which are associated to especially these sort of things. So we would really looking forward for more support in terms of research fundings, in terms of advocacy, in terms of more experts coming on board with us, helping the people, on for controlling this kind of uh, challenge, societal challenge. And then I would really love to see more people who could help us in policy making. Maybe we can give government some recommendations like the best models which have been used by the other countries, and how they developed and how they incorporated their eating disorder pandemic, dealing with this eating disorder pandemic and incorporating to their mental health policies. That would be a really great support if we get them. And please also download our app and share it with other people and support us and do support our blogs and cause. And I would also like to invite you for the upcoming conference and as well as our next fashion show. Thank you so much.